Okay, with respect to the last video, Morocco does have an option in terms of getting funding for the infrastructure and building of recycling plants. Now, obviously, geopolitically speaking and geofiscally speaking, I don't really need to explain to people at those levels how you go about doing that. Well, perhaps a little. They would need to approach, I think, you can definitely approach the World Bank for large-scale environmental projects globally. Obviously, you will have to write up a plan, so it's much more in-depth than a business plan. And really and truthfully, I feel that in certain countries, for example, if it was in Morocco, if Morocco was to approach the World Bank for funding for the money for the infrastructure and building of recycling plants in various areas around Morocco to help the environment, and also that it is a commodity. The thing is, there would have to be an overseer to ensure that that money is being used for what it is meant to be used for. So these projects, there's only from, well, when I last looked up, which was now a couple of years ago, so there might be more happening now, but at the time when I looked up, there was only one environmental project that was being funded by the World Bank that was happening in Morocco, and that was in the north of Morocco. It doesn't really matter. It's one of, I'm using Morocco because I've been there 5 times and I've seen things with my own eyes. But this is probably the same in many countries around the world. And evidently there is in many countries around the world governmental fraud and corruption and things like that. So which is why, when it comes to, for example, approaching the World Bank, I personally think that it would be safe to have an overseer, because projects like, recycling in Morocco really does help the environment, give jobs. There are lots of other things that you could probably apply for in terms of funding as a country to help with various projects. There are things out there. So, I'm also sure, I haven't looked so much into the International Monetary Fund, but I'm sure that's also an area that a country could look into. The thing is, the problem is with a lot of these projects, when they do get started, it's taken over by people involved in corruption, money gets siphoned off, and things fail. So having some sort of overseeing team is an essential idea to ensure these things happen, because over time, if you do improve these areas, it does improve the country's GDP. Now, in terms of the educating of women, I was using building as a great example, because builders are needed in countries. Why not? Women are strong. Women can do these things too. And it's as simple as that. Setting up different training. So I was talking about building and training in business, setting up business and running business and growing business and keeping it stable and long term. These things could be trained. There are various funds that you can apply. So like if you're a citizen in the United Kingdom and you want to start a local charity, or you're involved in something like that, or you need to apply for funding, you can go to a site called Turn to Us. So that's small scale. So what I'm talking about is the largest scale. And it is there, but you have to really know what you're doing to be able to apply for these things, and then obviously for the funding to go through. So there are solutions there, and most of the time what you do find is a lot of money gets poured into various places and it isn't really being used over these things. So having oversee a team, I think, is always a good idea to ensure these things can come up and running. The thing is, there's funding for lots of different things. So I've just come up with a couple of ideas. There's so many other things. we can all get sidetracked, or we can all get up and actually do something about something. Unfortunately for me, over the last 5 years, the things that I've experienced have destroyed my reputation, and it's irreparable. I'm still in a situation where I very much have had most of my rights removed from me, and I'm not being treated with properly. So in terms of me being able to use my skill, my knowledge to try to even do anything, whether it even be local or small scale, it's not going to happen. I'm ill as well. But with illness, there's, in my opinion, there's an opportunity of recovery from illness, whether that be mental illness and trauma, where you can recover from that trauma, or physical illness, and so I would like to think something could happen in the future, but I very much doubt it. I think that's all been well and truly destroyed. So even if I was get 100% better, I it's too late. What's happened is too bad. So, but it doesn't stop me from being able to think about these things, consider these things, ponder upon them, and then say something, because at the end of the day, lots of people could be getting involved in doing something that's going to benefit people in the long run, because we do have to concentrate on the fact that we need to live on this earth as well. So we need to factor in that we have to protect our home, because we don't have another planet to go to. A lot of things can be set up if you are including environmental projects. That can be from being, if you're a large scale, because the responsibility should be taken on by lots of people, not just countries or the individual. I mean, for example, why not have industrial farming, what I call industrial farming, large scale farming for export. I don't think large scale farming for export should actually be using a country's water sources when it could use filtered seawater. Seawater levels are rising, unfortunately. That's due to the melting of ice caps and glaciers and things like this. So we have that happening anyway. We could filter that water to supply water for industrial, global, kind of international farming, where you go into Tesco's or you go into Sainsbury's, and most of your products are coming in from a different country. All of those products are grown, I'd say 99% of them are grown using water sources from that country. So that's also something that the World Bank actually wrote a report on, seawater being filtered for urban drinking water. That's a great idea. The thing is, it's something that it takes people to have to kind of collaborate as a team to set the projects up and do them. It's all very well, we could see these solutions, but it does take for someone to actually implement them. Anywho, I just thought I would say that. Strangely enough, I just randomly opened this book on chapter 9, Rural Women in Development. That was not intentional, that was an accident. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Ciao, ciao.